been here before to the women's conference? Excellent. Now, for you first timers, please raise your hand. Thank you. Wow, this is great. Let's give everybody a round of applause. Thank you very much. And at this time, I'd like to just ask that if you haven't done it before, please introduce yourself to the person sitting next to you. Speakers. The speakers and topics are chosen each year based on your input. And now I'd like to let you know about Ed. 3 quick facts. Ed graduated from here. He graduated from Cal State Fullerton, yes, with a degree in finance and accounting, and he's a very proud Titan. Ed represents the cities of Orange County, cities in Orange County, Los Angeles County, and San Bernardino County, but he also serves as the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. The committee works on very important issues, for example, such as the lost girls abducted in Boko Haram, and on human trafficking. Yay! Advocate for the advancement of women. And as a state senator, he sponsored the nation's very first anti-stalking legislation law. And at that time, that law didn't exist, but all 50 states created similar legislation. However, a bad thing happened. One of the victims had moved to Florida, and the stalker came out of prison and went after her. But unfortunately, what happened was they said nothing can be done because now it's become a federal issue.
That's going to be right here in this room. For those of you going to a Celebrity Chef's Guide to Health Cooking, do you know where the theater room is? The staff here will help you find the theater room. Children's Health in the first 1,000 days, that's going to be the Alvarado room. And we will be back here at 11:30 sharp to hear from our keynote speaker, former Secretary of State, Condolezza Royce. So thank you again for coming.
Dealing with other women in our profession, and whether it's been difficult or not, and how to kind of deal with some of the things that come up when 2 women get together. I'll try to address it. The first time I had a secretary, the first question to her that came out of her mouth is, I'm working for a female attorney. She was a little hesitant, she's had horror stories, and I told her, I said, you know what, I'm not going to yell at you, I'm not going to get catty with you, but we are going to work together, and it's going to be the issues that we're going to have to deal with. I never blame my secretaries for anything that goes wrong. We just deal with what comes through the door. And if something happens, if there was a mistake, or if something has to be corrected, I don't get angry. I don't get, I don't do the blame game. I don't scream. I don't throw paper. Life is, what's the point of stressing over something that's a non-issue? That's how I view life. That's how I move on, and how I not have so much stress in my life. But besides that,
maybe bad behavior that could be coming at you, and just, each day is like a fresh day and give that person another chance. And then also just finding your own community of support. So I think a lot of times we think about like seeking.
One of the things that drew me to California was the fact that the state has been such a leader in clean tech, clean energy, going green. It's just a really amazing state in the fact that both the leaders of the state and the people of the state are really aligned with that vision and what the opportunities may be, and the fact that California, as a leader, can then demonstrate what can be done so that other states and countries can follow. So, as you probably know, the governor laid out this really strong vision in his State of the State back in January that talked about trying to achieve these significant greenhouse gas reductions and setting a target for 2030 of 50% reduction in transportation fuels, and 50% improvement in building efficiency, and 50% renewable energy usage. So 50, 50, 50. You gotta have a slogan if you're a politician. So I do think that's what the state is going to be focused on going forward in the next few years, particularly because we have a game plan through 2020 in California with a renewable standard that takes us 33% by 2020. We have energy efficiency mandates, we have energy storage mandates, and so really they're focusing in on the path from 2020 to 2030 and what that looks like and how to achieve that in order to both go green, go clean, but also do it in an affordable way, a because it can't have any cost, and we want to make sure that we continue to both maintain and grow jobs in California, as well as for us, for the electric utility industry, it's really important to maintain the reliability of the system, and particularly as more things are going electric, the power reliability and the power quality has to be there for customers to be like men, and what's been our experience. I think women don't ask for a lot of things, right? They just tend to not put forward that they want that next job. There is that perception if I work hard and I put my head down and I show that I'm a team player, that my boss will know that I am ready for the next step. And he or she may know that, and it is certainly what you do at work that makes a difference in terms of moving up in your job. But it's also making it clear that you're really interested in doing something different at work.
Since we work in the mail industry, how have we overcome some of the challenges of women in these kinds of situations? I'll give you a first example. When I was a newbie attorney, I went to federal court and I was there with my client and we're going to go into a hearing. Another attorney came out and came right over to me and said, "Oh, are you the interpreter?" And I said, "No, but thank you. This is my client. I'm an attorney." And then he walked away. But he did later come back and apologize for the fact because he was looking for an Asian interpreter because we all look alike. But the point, so I've met those kind of challenges where, I'm mistaken for certain things. I couldn't be an attorney because I'm Asian, I'm female. And my advice to any women out there is stand strong in your belief, know what you are, you know you have the education, speak loudly, and pursue your goals and careers. It's only you that's going to hold you back.
First generation, it was really hard for me initially to speak up. I mean, it was really hard because my parents taught me, no, you don't speak up, you don't question, you work hard, you'll be rewarded for that. And so I think one of the things that they don't teach you in college is how to get ahead in business. The things that they teach you are subject matters that are really important. They teach you skills like math and how to write effectively, but they don't teach you the part of relationships that make a big difference in work and in life, really. It's all about relationships. It's all about people. And so one of the things that I really try hard to do in work is to build a network of both friends and colleagues and mentors and informal mentors. Community is another part that's really important to me. So it's building those networks that are not just work networks, but even out in the community, some of the nonprofits that I'm involved with. And so in the male-dominated world of the utility industry, I think it's building those networks and having some of those men be your mentors. I mean, I've had great male mentors in work. And by doing that, it's not just you knowing them and then I'm building a network, but it's having those people know you. And so when an assignment comes up, an opportunity comes up, they think of you because they know you and they've built a relationship with you. And I think that is a big part of it, as well as just knowing that you have the skills, knowing that you have the knowledge, and having that confidence to participate as effectively as a team member as anyone else on the team, even if you are the only woman.
Great, yeah. I think reiterate all those points that were made. I'm sure we've all had those moments, like in DC not that long ago, I sat down at, it was like a big dinner, I sat down at a table and this guy's like, "How'd you wind up at the lawyer's table?" Went to law school. I think your point is key. Like, mentors come in all shapes and sizes. I've had great mentors that are dear friends that, were the, senior male partner on a case. And the one thing I've learned that helped me is I used to kind of go into a meeting, especially law and tax, so there could be like 25 people and maybe I'm the only female there. I think when you're sitting in that room, you can be kind of paralyzed by that, and you start thinking about like, well, what are all the barriers that have created this, and you can kind of take yourself out of that space. And so for me, like, the best thing you can do in that moment is to contribute and be a part of it. And so I've tried to really do that. Like, when you have those opportunities, embrace them, and then also be aware that you are fortunate to have that seat. And there's a lot, like, I think every one of us in this room, just the mere fact that we're here means that we could also be expanding that pool. So once you leave that meeting and you realize what an unequal balance that was, think really hard, like what can we be doing in terms of building a pipeline of the next generation of women that can be there, and then once they're there, how do you kind of retain them and build them up internally. So like you said, I think being confident in those moments, and also all of us do have a responsibility to make sure, you know, that if you are the first person there, that you're not the last woman, and that you're reaching a hand out to make sure that it continues to grow.
This is actually our third year presenting here at the Women's Conference, so thank you for having us back. I guess there's a need for budgeting and just learning about your finances. It's so very important that as women and some young gentlemen as well, to take control of our finances. Many of us don't think about it because we're so busy on our day-to-day doing everything else, and everything's just going so quickly with technology these days that we don't have the time to really sit down and think about a plan. And it's so necessary to be able to do that and make a difference in not only our lives, but our families' lives. So today we're going to be budgeting and planning ahead. Your income does not determine how successful you are. Your choices and your priorities do. Everyone will ask me, well, how do you do it, Letitia? You're so disciplined. It took me a lot of years to get to where I'm at. And I think that I could share my stories, successes and not so good successes. And that's kind of what's made me popular. It's because I'm a real person. And yes, I've had some financial problems. My husband worked in manufacturing. So every 5 years, he was either laid off or the company closed, and I had to redo my budget. So even though our income stopped or increased, the bills kept coming in. And I had to learn the hard way, and that's why I'm here today, to be able to share that with you and let you know that you currently need. And most importantly, preparing for the unknown. There's life happens, and there are emergencies that are not so nice and that happen in our lives. I know that I'm currently going through the health of my father. He has congestional heart failure, and he'll be going through major surgery in the next few weeks. And he was not prepared. You know, he raised a family of 6, and his spouse dies. Do we have enough money to pay for health care? And especially with the changes in healthcare. Like I said, my father's having some health problems, and he's on Medicare. And he has a share cost of $800 he has to pay for every major procedure. How can he pay that when he's living off of his Social Security? And we don't think of these things until it's very real and it happens to us. Will I be a burden on my family? Or, do we need to go and have assisted living? And even if we are home, who's going to take the time to take care of us? Because they're write down your financial goals. What is it that you want your money to do for you? Not what you're going to do for your money, because we all know that we work very hard for it, right? So how many of you guys think that your money could actually work for you? And how is that done? That's done by proper planning and saving and helping make a difference. Write down your short-term and long-term family and plan out your budget every year. Raise your hand. I've done this with my children since very small. And I'd sit with my kids and I'd sit with my husband, because what would happen is I'd have all these great plans, and all of a sudden it's like, Mom, I need to go to basketball camp. So it was a whole different level. And so we would decide, what's important to us. My husband will be retiring this year, and I wanted to give him his trip to Alaska. We wanted to take a cruise. He wanted to do some fishing. Have to pay double, triple the amount of that trip, just because I cannot wait for something to. That, ladies, let me tell you, that same adrenaline rush that you get when you go shopping and you buy that new purse or the new pair of shoes, you can get that same rush by opening up your statement and seeing your accounts grow every month. I used to do that with my kids when they were little. I'd share with them the statement. I'd put $5 in each of their account every payday. And at the end of the month, they'd look at it and they'd smile and say, "Mom, we have $100 in our account now." And I remember when my oldest one started getting older, he used to look at his statement and say, "Mom, I have enough money to buy that video game that, you say you can't afford because it's not in your budget." And I used to say, "That's right." And I thought to myself, I'm going to let him buy it. So I did, and I took the money from his account. So the next time the statement came in, he looked at it and he started crying. And I said, "Why are you crying, Michael?" And he's like, "You love Matthew more than you love me." I said, "Why do you say that? He has more money in his account than I do." And I said, No. Look, you took out $60 for that video game. And he started crying even more. I said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "Because I didn't think you were transferred from my account." You could do it. Each and every one of you could do it. It can't be done with current or proposed resources and expenses. So what is it that you're going to do tomorrow? Some of the resources that you have. Is connecting with the financial advisors. I know that our credit union has complimentary advice, so we have friends. I have a girlfriend who is going through a divorce, and she came to me and she said, "Tisha, you're kind of good with finances, can you help me?" And I said, "Yes, I could, but let me bring you over to a financial advisor, and you could kind of talk freely to her and see what she budgeting and debt management place, and if you say that Orange County's credit union referred to you, then they'll be happy to assist you with the counseling." So we start out by creating a spending and savings plan. You look at your current income, and when I say you look at your current income, I'm not the month, and you decide which ones are those budget busters. I'll tell you one of mine. One of mine is Target. I don't call it Target. I call it the $100 store. Because I remember I said that the adrenaline rush that you get from shopping and spending, make sure that you start creating that. I think the greatest thing that I have learned in my life, besides budgeting and financing for myself and for my family, is all the families that I have helped in my lifetime and in my career. I'll be celebrating my 29-year anniversary with the credit union in June. And I've seen kids that I helped, start with their 3 words, 4 words. 3 or 4 words based on this conference. This is the first time you've been in this conference?
Oh no, remember I've worked with Congressman at Royce for 23 years.
Oh, okay.
So I've been here from the very beginning when we started it.
You were the staff.
I was in the district director. Yes,
Yeah, I remember that. Okay. Well, based on what you see in this convention here, and the motivation for women, what do you want to send a message to these women here that would inspire them as far as being a successful woman? In 3 to 4 words.
Persistence.
Okay.
Persistence, persistence, persistence.
I like that.
Yes.
Counties. In January 2013, he was selected to become chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman Royce and his wife Maria are longtime residents of Fullerton. Whether supporting major programs and initiatives and its programs, please join me in welcoming Congressman Royce.
Served as the 66th Secretary of State of the United States, the second woman and first African-American woman to hold this post. And prior to her service as Secretary of State, Dr. Royce served for 4 years as the National Security Advisor to the President, the first woman to serve in this position.
We know that after September 11th, we faced security challenges in places that maybe we couldn't have even found on a map before that, places like Yemen and Somalia, and the horrible things that are happening in Nigeria, especially to girls in Nigeria. We know as women that as some of these trends unfold, underneath, not very far underneath, is the sense that women should not, in fact, be first-class citizens. When you think about the awfulness of the Taliban in Afghanistan, what was one of their most important principles? That girls shouldn't go to school, girls shouldn't read. Some of the trends that are unfolding are particularly bad for women and for girls. But in fact, we have always had an answer to the view that we should go back to a place and a time when a military power that is represented by young men and women who volunteer. They volunteer to defend us. And they would talk about our great economic strength and the fact that the United States is the world's largest economy. That we're also not trapped by their circumstances of birth. You did not have to remain in the class to which you were born. Indeed, your start of circumstances in life was literally just the beginning. And with hard work, and with good effort, and with a strength of purpose, you could rise to the highest in voluntary associations to try to help one another. The great French thinker in 1835, named Tocqueville, wrote a book called Democracy in America. And one of the things that he noticed was these, as he called them, voluntary associations. Today, we would call them Rotary clubs and Boys and Girls clubs. In Alabama of the late 50s and early 60s was a Birmingham in which my parents and I could go to a movie theater or to a restaurant. It was the Birmingham of segregated water fountains and bathrooms. It was the Birmingham of 1963, which would become Birmingham, and where I would lose in that church in Birmingham in September of 1963 a little kindergarten class.